Alright, what's up YouTube? I'm here with a new video. This is going to be a 2024 recap video, pretty much mixed in also with a December recap. So some things I'm going to be covering today is just talking about the negatives pertaining to my trading journey, of course. The negatives about the trading year, the positives, and then just some key takeaways. We'll also talk about some trades that I took this month. Ones that I'm proud of, ones that I probably could have avoided. And yeah, so let's get started. Alright, so we're just going to start off with the negatives about the year. I just have bullet points on my other screen right here, so I'm just going to be reading off that to just base the video off of. But first bullet point is paid too much attention to outside noise, meaning like Twitter, Discord, various trading groups. Now, if you are a reoccurring viewer, you already know that this is something that I've touched on in previous videos. So yeah, pretty much, I mean, it's self-explanatory. I just paid a lot of attention to outside noise, and I'm gonna give myself some slack for it because I was taking the humble approach within my trading journey, like being willing to learn from others that may or may have not have done more than me, made more money than me, has seen more success, whatever we want to call it. But after a while, I started realizing that at the end of the day, my conviction is the one that matters most, for the simple fact that I'm the one taking the risk. I'm the one clicking the buy button. So I felt like every time that I was soaking in other people's opinions and analysis and mixing it with my own, I was just diminishing my own conviction that I was just spent the past 2.5 years trying to build. And that's no disrespect to people's opinions. Like, there are people's analysis that I definitely do value. There's people that probably make more money than me whose analysis I also value, or have a better year to date, or been trading longer than me. Like, there's no disrespect, but I like to think that the people that have achieved outstanding growth within their trading account and their equity curve, I'd like to believe that those people, past a certain point, they reached a crossing road where they said, okay, like, sure, we value Joe Schmo's opinion, but he's not trading for me. I'm trading for myself. Therefore, I need to pay attention to what I believe in and what my analysis tells me. So, yeah, that's definitely something that I'm going to be leaving in 2024 and really honing in on that mistake because it's just getting old at this point. And I've done really well for the second half of the year in tuning out the noise, which has also paid dividends in the terms of my equity curve. So yeah, second bullet point is made system much more complicated than it needed to be at first. More specifically, my sell rules. I just made shit a lot more complicated, and it just didn't need to be that way. I've kind of learned about myself that I just like things to be simple. I don't really like to think too much, as crazy as that sounds, but specifically to trading. I just don't think thinking about my setups and my execution so much is just a profitable way to go about it because it leaves room for emotion. And then we all know emotion is a bad thing in trading because if you make decisions based off emotion and not a well thought out process that's simple relatively, uh, it just doesn't lead to anything good, at least for me. And I felt like when I first started trading, especially not even in 2024 but 2023, I felt like my system, whatever I was trading, needed to be so complicated because I was afraid, like, if someone were to ask me, yo, how are you doing so and so, like, how are you making money on stocks, like, I felt like I needed to tell them this sort of rocket science process so that it, I don't know, made it seem like I've put more work in or made it seem like I'm smarter than I actually am. But then I kind of just realized none of that fucking matters. At the end of the day, like if my simple process is making money, stick to that and leave it be. So, yeah, I've touched on this in previous videos, but at this point in time, my process is very simple, and I'm going to keep it that way until it doesn't work, but I don't see it not working. But anything can happen, of course. But yeah, my third bullet point is made some emotional decisions that led to a worse yearly P&L. Now, of course, a lot of that is hindsight, but I'd be lying if I said if I didn't look back and think to myself, there was some bonehead obvious mistakes that I made that could have led to much more growth. And like I said, it's hindsight to a certain point, but there are some bonehead mistakes that I made, like deviating away from my process and letting emotions take over and inviting too much thinking into my execution that it led to a worse performance than I probably would have preferred, of course. I'll touch on that in the positives, but we did end up ending the year green, so I guess that's all that really matters. But I felt like I definitely could have done better this year. Now, my fourth bullet point is that I let the bad months consume my emotions a bit. Now, this is tricky because I think everyone can relate to that to the fact that losing sucks, especially when you are consistently losing. Like for example, if you're having a few bad weeks or a bad month or two bad months or a bad quarter, it gets tough, especially like, and I mean emotionally, like outside of my life, it wasn't anything toxic in the sense that like I was second guessing life, but I definitely was letting it drag me down, probably more than I would have preferred. I think true mastery of your emotions in terms of trading comes when you're pretty much the same person when you're winning and when you're losing. And of course, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the good months. Uh, but that's where I want to be in terms of the fact that like if someone were to talk to me that had no idea what I was doing, they couldn't tell if I just made $10,000 in a day or if I lost $10,000 in a day or whatever that number may be. I want to get to that point. So that's something that I noticed about this year. Definitely going to be fixing that going into 2025. It's going to be easier said than done, but I will definitely take initiative to change that. My fifth bullet point is selling some things too early. Now, obviously, this is another thing that like is sort of hindsight, but sort of not, because the whole point of swing trading is typically taking paper cut losses and then holding on to the things that work for you for the longest amount of time that you possibly can in order to squeeze out and pay for those paper cut losses. And there was a couple of trades this year that I definitely fumbled. Sorry, excuse me. Like Tesla, for example, somewhere earlier around here. I sold this too early. Off the top of my head, I think I sold Carvana too early, somewhere around earlier down here. There's a lot, honestly. I think I sold Apple too early when I bought it around here as well. Now, of course, securing gains is never a bad thing, but like I said previously, like I know my model and I know that I'm losing a decent amount and I need to have the mental strength and added conviction to be holding on to these winners longer in order to pay for those paper cut losses. Now, that's something I luckily improved on in the second half of the year, but for the first two quarters, I would say I was a little shaky, and I wouldn't say I was a border. I wasn't like a paper hander, but I was a little shakier than I would like to have been. I want to think that the second half of the year, I really followed my process to the T, and yeah, that's something I'm proud of. My sixth and final bullet point for the negatives are try balancing options and shares. Now, for the first two quarters, which also probably hindered my yearly performance as well. I was trying to balance the two, and honestly, in my humble opinion, I don't think options are worth it, especially for me. And now that I've gotten proof of concept that you can take your equity curve to unforeseeable heights strictly trading shares, that's all I needed to know. And shares are simple for me, like picking contracts with options is very difficult in my opinion about picking the right contract, especially if they're out of the money, especially with swing trading too and the volatility. Your contracts get slammed, and it's not as simple as buying shares. And like I said earlier, like I love simple, I love simplicity, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the negatives. Moving on to the positives. My first bullet point is never doubted the setup with some exceptions. Now, what I mean by this is like when things were going wrong, I never second guessed the setup. I never was like, all right, well, maybe I should go back to day trading, or maybe I should try something else, or maybe I should completely erase my whole entire system and start from scratch and figure something else out. I like to take pride in the fact that I put the work in and I got the conviction that I needed in order to really trust the process. Now, of course, I'm human. Humans are irrational, they're emotional, and sometimes I slipped up, of course. By no means was I perfect, but I take pride in the fact that I really didn't completely go back to the drawing board and just scratch everything that I've worked on so hard to build in terms of conviction, in terms of all the studying that I did, in terms of all the deep dives that I've done. With my specific setup, I didn't just go back to the drawing board and just start all over from scratch from one bad month or two bad months or whatever the case may have been. Now, my second bullet point, and this, for those who have been trading for a while, may hear me say this and be like, well, like, this is something like, no shit, bro. Like, this isn't something to really brag about. And I'm not necessarily bragging, it's just something I'm highlighting because I personally have seen people that have been trading for years and they still don't have a system written down. So my second bullet point is build a system, wrote it down, put it on paper, and developed a procedural memory. Now, I have a whole system down to the T written on a Word document. Pretty much how I do my scans, how I take my trades, how I sell my trades, how I upload videos on YouTube, what my morning market open routine is, my pre-market routine, like all of that stuff. I have it written down to the T. It's very simple. Um, it's in layman terms. I feel like if someone who doesn't trade at all were to sit on my setup and I would be like, yo, read this document and try to figure out what to do, they would at least be able to do at least 85% of what I wrote down because it's really simple. It's out in layman terms, like I said, that's something I'm really proud of. I feel like it's also treating it like a business. And speaking of that, I call them standard operating procedures, which if anyone's involved in the business world, you know what that is. It's pretty much essentially like the Bible of your business in terms of how to do, in this case for trading, it's like how to scan, uh, what setup I look for, what criteria I need to see in order to take a trade, this, that, and the fourth of what I just previously said, not to be redundant. But yeah, I take major pride in that. And yeah, my third bullet point is transition from declarative knowledge to procedural knowledge. Now, this is a huge thing I see in trading where a lot of people know about something in terms of like a setup or pretty much setups. Like they know about a setup, but they aren't actually doing the thing. Like declarative knowledge is pretty much knowing about something, and the procedural knowledge is not only knowing about something but doing that thing. Now, I see so many people doing all the studying, doing all the charting, all of that, but when it comes to actually trading, they don't do it. And I feel like that was me at one point in time, not this year, but 2023 and a little bit of 2022. I feel like I did all this studying and all this just to like hesitate when I got on the setup at Market Open. And I like to really take pride in the fact that like this year, like win or lose, I was just taking so many shots on goal because I knew that I was going to learn one way or another. Um, So yeah, moving on to the fourth bullet point, and I already kind of touched on this, but stuck with one system, one style, and wrote out the bad months to capitalize on the good months. Now, I pretty much touched on this a little bit, but we all know that one person where like they get one bad week, one bad month, two bad months, a bad year, and they hit the drawing board and they try to strategy hop and go from one strategy to the other, to the other, to the other. And I thankfully learned pretty quick that like it's not the system and it's you 99% of the time. Like you can really boil down any mistake that you really make to the fact that you value in that moment of making that mistake, you valued making money more than understanding your process and altering that process that you can put yourself in a position to make money. Like everyone loves to say, I don't care about the money. Now, let's be real here. We all do. Like that's what we're here for, to make a fuck ton of money. But what I'll say to that is I love making money, but I love contributing to my process and following my process and editing it and tweaking it to my liking even more. And I think that's what's really important, and I'm glad I have that mindset early on. And I came to the terms of like, listen, I'm not going to sit here and lie to myself and say that I don't care about making money. And it's not all about that. But I'm just glad that I've really honed in on my system and I've really, because, uh, and I'll talk about that. Actually, I might as well just talk about it now. I had like two bad months in a row, and I I would like to really pat myself on the back for really seeing it through, seeing the pain through, and just sticking with it because I knew that if I pushed to the other side, I would get paid literally and figuratively. Like it would pay off, not even in terms of financially, but just all the knowledge I get from all that failing and all that losing of my money, my hard-earned money. I knew I would learn, and I would come out on the other side prosperous one way or another. Um, my fifth bullet point is close the year out strong. As I said earlier, let me take a look right now. Now my position's dipped a little bit. I was up about 15% on the year. Now I'm only up about 10%. And unfortunately, like I'm giving back some gains, but I'm following my process. Like I could have emotionally sold because I'm pretty sure the sentiment right now is that the market's going to collapse. It's the end of the world, this and that. And sure, I could have sold and emotionally have sold and maybe secured more gains, but that's something that you kind of have to live with. And I let some of my positions come back on me, which I'm not really upset about because I'm following my process. And I know that in a good market condition or in a good market, when the conditions are in my favor, that my system pays off. So yeah, I'm up about 10% on the year. Uh, yeah, close out the year strong. I mean, I didn't beat the S&P. I didn't beat the benchmark, which is okay. I'm not really too upset about that because me 2 years ago was full porting, fucking losing all my money, gambling, and no, I really treated it like a business this year, and it paid off. Didn't pay off as much as I would have liked it to, but that's like I said, it's not the biggest issue. I learned so much. I've grown so much, and yeah. Second to last bullet point is was never afraid of losing. Now this is another thing. A lot of people were like, they do all this studying and they do all this and they're like waiting for the perfect market conditions to do so and so and this and that. And honestly, me personally, I was just taking so many shots on goal, like I said earlier, because I knew I was just going to learn. I learned a lot about what works for me, what doesn't work for me. I wasn't hesitating because I put the work in. I studied a lot and I was like telling myself all the time, like, yeah, okay, maybe I'm not winning this month, maybe I'm not winning this week or these 2 months, but I will eventually because I know all the studying that I've done is going to pay off, and it did. So I'm just really glad that I saw all the ups and downs through, all the pain through, and I really pushed through and came out on top in the end. Lastly, now this is another thing that someone who's been trading for a while may be like this isn't something to really highlight, but I can proudly say that I've journaled pretty much every single execution I've taken this year. And I'm just proud of that. You know, it's pretty easy to like write that off, not think that it's important. And you know, for me, being introspective and reflecting on myself essentially is not really a hard thing to do. I don't know if it's hard for other people, but yeah, really proud of that. And that's pretty much it for all the positives about this year. So some key takeaways is I said this earlier, not to be redundant, but think less and do more. Uh, for me, thinking doesn't get me paid in terms of when I trade. Like it doesn't get me paid at all. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Second, adapt your style of trading to your personality. Now, I know a lot of people try to copy what other people are doing. It's very easy to go on Twitter, for example, and see like someone making a fuck ton of money day trading, but that may not necessarily fit their personality. Like for me, I first started off day trading, but then I quickly realized it wasn't for me because I didn't just like waking up every single morning and fiending for a setup and just being on my setup all day just for like a setup not to happen. Um, and then I found swing trading like a third of into my first year, and then fully wrote it out my second year. I found that swing trading fits my personality. I really like it in terms of I like to, I love the scanning. I love finding the setups, and then I love literally being at my desk for an hour and a half tops, and then being able to go do whatever I want to do, like whether that's go lift, go to work, go for a walk, go do some sort of physical activity, go fucking touch grass, whatever the case may be. Because with day trading, like I was fiending for a setup, and I was so risk prone because I was constantly on my setup, risking money, and I feel like you're just exposing yourself in terms of like exposing your capital much more because you're just constantly day trading. It's literally in the word itself. Like you're trying to find a trade every single day. With swing trading, it's more patience, and I feel like the real skill lies in holding your winners for a long time. And not to make this a whole debate about whether swing trading or day trading is better, but yeah, I've learned that the way you trade, even down to how you sell your position, should fit your personality, and that basing it off what other people do is there's no point because some other people have bigger balls than me, and I have bigger balls than some other people. Like some people like to be in a position for 2 or 3 days and that's it. Like and some other people like to hold for a fucking whole year and trail like the 20 SMA or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I've learned. My third bullet point is nobody, and I mean nobody's opinion means more than yours. And this is pretty self explanatory. I've touched on this in my negatives, but at the end of the day, my conviction matters the most. And that's something that I'm going to constantly remind myself whenever I feel like I'm letting outside noise dictate my decision making. That nobody's opinion matters more than mine because I'm the one clicking the button to buy and trade and put risk on the table. So it's pretty simple. Fourth bullet point is when it gets easy, double down, and when it gets hard, change your approach. Now, so for the first 2 quarters of this year, and maybe even a little bit of Q3, I was risking about 0.5% of my account. And then things started, like trades really started to work in my favor. And I was like, oh shit, like something's going on here. Like the market's telling me, like, your strategy, your edge is working. And that's when I went from 0.5% of my net account value risk to 1%, even 1.2, and I risked 2. I think I risked no, I lied. I think at the max I went was 1.5%. Now, what I mean by this is like when trades are working, you need to double down so that you can exponentially grow your account. And I kind of learned this, like I said, second half of the year. Like shit was working, and I was like, okay, let me tee up a little bit and risk more, because it's getting easy. It felt like at one point in time, I was literally trading. I was just like, all my positions would instantly go green, like all of them, and I'm just like, okay, this seems like it's like a little easy. Like it's actually not real. Like I felt like I was barely even trading because I was fully invested and like I wasn't even scanning and like I was barely putting any time in. And as crazy as that sounds in terms of finding new opportunity, like scanning. Of course, I was keeping up to date with the market, but it it felt like I wasn't even trading at one point, and like that's when I realized this is when I should be doubling down. Like I feel like that's when you should really grab your fucking nuts and put the risk on the table and try to find that one or two trades that really take your equity curve to new heights. My second to last bullet point is simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. Now this is pretty self-explanatory, but I'll say it again quickly. For me, simplicity works, simplicity scales, complexity fails. When shit gets complicated, like off the top of my head, I mean, it still haunts me to this day. I complicated this trade right here. I was literally in at $1.50. I tweeted my execution, proof of my fill. Obviously shoulda, coulda, woulda, but you see how this ended up turning out. Like this could have easily been my biggest trade. Now I obviously made up for this with QBT, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But even then, I still didn't make up for that full entire. Like this move is crazy. I'd be up 1,000%. And of course, we could play the shoulda, coulda, woulda. But the point is, I did take the trade. But the other point is that I did complicate it, and in the end, it fucked me over. So I've really realized that simplicity for me personally works. And sometimes it might be so simple that other people are like, dude, like how, like that seems like too good to be true. I mean, that's the way it is for me, and it works. So yeah. My last bullet point is learn to enjoy the losses. You aren't making money, but you are learning, which will come back around and pay dividends later. Now, this is huge for me because, like I said earlier, like it's hard to really embrace those losing months. Like it's so much easier said than done. But in the moment when you're just eating shit, literally eating shit, waking up every morning and just thinking, oh, this is gonna be another fucking day. I'm gonna lose money. It's really hard to be in the right mind state or the state of mind of like saying, hey, like, might lose this whole, like, might be red this whole month, but let me learn. But now that I know, of course, in hindsight, I'm going to try to apply this mindset a lot more because it's pain when you're losing. And more often than not, when you're swing trading, you're in drawdown or damn near coasting around break even for a while. But then there's that one quarter, those 2 months, or those 2 quarters out of the whole year where you start going crazy, and that's when you need to capitalize and be in the right mindset. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I need to say on terms of my 2024 recap. Let me just pull up my TradeZella, read off my statistics. I don't know why I'm not already logged in, but yeah. So we're gonna talk about a couple of trades that I took this month. I'm not really upset about any trades that I took this month, actually, believe it or not. Let me close out QUBT. Let me definitely close out half of, because my statistics for the month are going to change because I still have some roaming positions. But yeah, hold on. I'm gonna pause the video and come back to it in a second. All right, just pulled up my stats for December. Ended up closing QUBT fully and just holding a little bit less than half of this position and a little bit less, or a little bit less than half of Rumble. Now, for the month of December, my statistics are a win percentage of 39%, and my average win-loss ratio is, my average RR is 3.7, so meaning for every $1 I risked, I made 3.7 back, and a profit factor of 2.39, which I'm actually really proud of because I wanted to get that number up. So, hold on, let me exit this real quick. I don't know why TC2000 fucking froze. But we'll talk about some trades that I wasn't really proud of, although I didn't have too many of those this month. I think off the top of my head, some trades that I could have avoided are as follows. I'll show you guys real quick. 1 sec. Sorry. I had to fix that. Okay, so we'll talk about some trades that I probably not really too happy about. But I don't have that too many of those. A lot of that was just, I guess, hindsight. But okay, low on this day here. Took it on this day. I like this trade specifically because of the relative strength it was showing compared to the S&P at the time. It fell on this day here. Okay, low. Okay, low. Okay, low. LO. Whatever we want to fucking call it. Seemed to be completely unfazed from that drop. But as you could see, it ended up going nowhere. Uh, so yeah, that's one trade I probably could have avoided. Another one is NNE on this day here. Not really too upset about it, but in hindsight, I should have avoided it because I mean, just take a look at all this price action. It's so choppy. The sector was hot though, but uh, yeah, just not. It wasn't my best trade. Let's just say that. What else? Let's see. Another thing that I'm really, some trades that I'm proud of. QUBT, obviously, as we all know, this one made up for my RGTI fumble, which was really fucking bad, but all good. So as you can see, we got in on that green line. We netted a realized R multiple of 14.76. My average exit is 17.55. So yeah, for the one unit that I risked, I got 14.76 back. Pretty awesome trade. Happy that I followed my sell rules. Although I could have, whatever, top tick at 25, sold when everyone else wanted to sell, and short this shit to the ground. But I don't really care about shoulda, coulda, woulda. I followed my system, and that's all that fucking matters. MVST, another trade that I'm proud of that I'm still currently in. Got it on the green line. This one was along with QUBT, a theme-related trade. Battery stocks are doing really hot right now. In on that green line, holding a little bit less than half of my trade, or half of my position. I've netted about almost 2R on this. Nothing crazy. It seems to be turning back on me, but it is what it is. Rumble's another good one too. I've netted about 2.5R off this. Entry on the green line as always. I feel like I shouldn't even have to say that anymore, but for those who are maybe your first time viewers, yeah, entry on the green line. And yeah, we're still holding that, as well as, let's see, some other good trades this month. DXYZ. Took this on this day here. Good trade right there. I netted about 4.25R on that. What else? Let's see. Yeah, not too many trades that I'm not too happy about. Actually, I guess I could have avoided this trade too. I've already traded this fucking shitter right here on this day here. I should have known for a 20 ADR. I don't even know how that's possible, considering this fucking dog shit price action. Uh, should have avoided this name, but I took it. To be fair, it was a pretty good looking setup. Took it on this day here. Obviously, that didn't end up working out. Could have avoided this trade, but yeah, nah, I feel like I was really on point this month in terms of finding the right themes. Uh, I had a lot of trades as well that I'm not mentioning that just ended up getting stopped for like a measly 1 or 2R or break even. Some losses that, and, I mean, there's no losses I'm really upset about. I took an L on this twice, I believe. I took an L on this day here, and then I took it this day here as well. Uh, you know, you live and you learn. In my opinion, it was a 5-star setup before then, and it still was a 5-star setup. Took it, didn't end up working. It is what it is. You live and learn. You live and you learn. Uh, also took PL. This got stopped at break even. Like I said, I took it on this day here. Ended up stopping me at break even, considering the shitty market conditions as of late. Other than that, yeah, nah. Not too upset about anything. Trying to look through my TradeZilla. Sorry, I apologize. Yeah, no. So I'll read off those stats one last time. for the month of, hold on, sorry, for the month of December on closed trades, I had a win rate of 34%. Sorry, when I first stated my statistics, I didn't have closed trades. I just had open and closed, but I filtered it to just close with a total of 26 executions. Average win-loss trade of 3.95, a profit factor of 2.09, which as I stated earlier, I am very proud of in the sense that that number is usually in the 1.5s. So yeah, we got that up, and that pretty much concludes this video, my 2024 and my December. I just want to say to my future self that will be going back and watching this video, I am really proud of you. You've come a long way in and outside of trading. It was a good 2024, but let's make it an even better 2025. For those that have made it this far in the video, I thank you for watching, and cheers. Hope everyone has a happy holiday. Stay safe, stay healthy, and catch you guys in the next one. Let's get it, baby. Let's go.